Hey everyone, it's Justin, and today I want to talk about what stocks billionaires are buying right now. Because last week, a lot of results for a lot of billionaires and top investors have been publicly released, so we can check what stocks they're buying, what stocks they're selling, what stocks they're holding, and hopefully that can give people a lot of investment ideas that you can think about and help you in your investment strategy and help you invest better and have more ideas to invest in. So I usually use dataroma.com to check this information. And if you've seen my other videos, you probably have heard of dataroma.com. So let me pull that up. And dataroma.com, I can put a link in the description, but basically it's just dataroma, then .com. And we can look at some billionaires or top investors that are very successful and have good track records. And hopefully that can give you guys a good idea on what stocks to buy, what stocks to sell, what stocks to hold, and just give you a guidance sort of for an investment strategy, because billionaires and successful investors have had really good track records. They are professionals and they have teams of professionals. So if you're picking a basket of stocks that they already hold, then that makes your job a lot easier. And also it makes your job a lot safer because you're less likely to go wrong if you're picking from the basket of stocks that they have already vetted for you. So let's start with the most famous investor of all, Warren Buffett. So I can show you his holdings, but basically you can go there yourself. This is his holdings. He holds a lot of companies. Most of them he has held for a long time, and he bought decades ago. He's a very long-term investor. He has very long-term horizons, and he wants to hold stocks for years, at least a few years, and sometimes decades. So that's his investment strategy. It may not be for you. It could be for you if you're more of a long-term investor, but that's basically his philosophy on investing. So this is his holdings, and let's check out his trading activity the last quarter. So in the past quarter, Warren Buffett bought about 5 different stocks and sold a lot. So depending on what you think of this, the stock market has been rebounding at least since last week. So that can be a factor. And actually, it has been rebounding for longer than that. Even though the economic data isn't that good and unemployment data isn't that good. So you should also think about that, because the stock market will eventually match the economic data overall, because the business environment really reflects the economic environment. And if the economic environment isn't doing so well, the business environment will not do so well. So even though the stocks are rebounding because of hopes of getting back on track and getting back from COVID, we also should think about the damage that has already been done to our economy. So that can give you some food for thought, and you can look at what Warren Buffett is doing to give you some good ideas. But let's check out some other investors. So we can look at Carl Icahn, who is also a really big investor. This is Carl Icahn's holdings. He holds less stocks than Warren Buffett. He's more of a concentrated investor. He's a very good investor with a great track record. So hopefully this gives you some ideas. And his trading activity is over here. So he bought a bit of 3 stocks and he sold about 4 different stocks, and 3 of the stocks he sold, he completely got rid of those holdings. I haven't looked into his specific companies, so if you want to look at what Carl Icahn is doing, then definitely check out the companies he's investing in and the ones he's selling. But he looks like a more concentrated investor. He's more of a conviction investor, so there's a lot more concentration of money being put into the stocks he's investing in. And when he sells big, at least the past quarter. So that's really his investment strategy. And I think it's pretty good because the first quarter of 2020 really sucked because of coronavirus. And he bought a lot of stocks during that time. During the market downturn, he bought on the dip, which is pretty smart. And now that the markets are rebounding, he's selling quite a bit of stocks. And it's rebounding even though the economic activity isn't that great. So I think that's smart to do. But let's keep going. And we should look at Bill Gates, who's a billionaire. He's not famous for investing. He's more of a entrepreneur. He got famous from Microsoft, but he has a great investment fund. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust that invests in a lot of stocks is managed by a great team of people. So it helps to see what he's doing. So let's look at the stocks he's holding. These are the stocks he's holding. And I think his trading activity isn't that complicated. He basically sold Berkshire Hathaway, which is actually Warren Buffett's holding company. And he sold about 11.13% of his stake in it, which is a lot. So he's divesting from Warren Buffett's holding company. I don't know what that means. Maybe he's having less trust in how Warren Buffett will do in the future. But I don't know what you think of it. If you have any opinions, then definitely comment. But this is what Bill Gates is doing. So let's move on. Let's look at more of the hedge fund managers who do investing as a career. And they have very successful track records, and they're basically professional investors. That's what they do for a living. So let's look at Seth Klarman of Baupost Group first. So this is what Seth Klarman is holding. These are his stock holdings. He's holding quite a bit of stocks, especially if you compare that to Carl Icahn, who's more of a concentrated investor, whereas Seth Klarman is a little more diversified. And in the past quarter, Seth Klarman has bought these stocks and he sold all of these stocks. So he's buying more than he's holding. And they kind of make sense as well, especially if you think about his quarter one activity where he's buying a lot of stocks. And that makes sense because of the market downturn and because of the dip in the stock market. But now things are rebounding. It makes sense to sell more stocks, especially because it's rebounding without a strong economic foundation. And like I said before, ultimately, businesses rely on the economic foundation to do well. So if the economic foundations aren't very well, then businesses will not do so well. So maybe a lot of the investors don't think that the economic rebound is justified, and that's why they're selling their stocks, because they think their stocks are priced higher than they should actually be. So let's move on to another hedge fund manager. I want to look at David Tepper of Appaloosa Management. So if you're not very familiar with the hedge fund managers, then definitely subscribe and see my videos, because sometimes I talk about them and I give people ideas on which hedge fund managers to follow. Part of my investment research is to follow fund managers with good track records. So if you want, you can also DM me on Instagram and ask me which hedge fund managers have good track records, so you can see what they're doing and maybe get investment ideas from them. But basically, this is David Tepper's holdings, and he holds a lot of stocks. He's more diversified. And the past quarter, let's see what he's doing. So he's buying a lot of stocks and he's selling a lot of stocks. I'm not going to go into detail about the companies he's buying and selling because there's so many, but if you see familiarities between what he's doing and what other investors, top investors with good track records are doing, then definitely that should ring a bell. So let's keep going. Let's look at another hedge fund manager. And I think this is the last one we should do, because there's so many hedge fund managers, you really need to pick and choose which ones you want to follow. And this guy has a really good track record. So Bill Ackman, These are his holdings. He doesn't hold a lot of stocks. He's more concentrated, which I personally like. I think that's a better investment philosophy. And in quarter two, he bought basically 2 stocks and he sold 4 stocks. 3 of them, he completely sold out. And if you look at his quarter one activity, you see a pattern with him and some of the other top investors we already talked about. He mostly did buying during the first quarter because of the stock market downturn and the dip. So now he's selling after the rebound, and yeah. So this is what he's doing. You can go to dataroma.com to see other investors as well. I'm just covering 6 of them, that I think have good track records and that are pretty trustworthy and are all billionaires, which justifies the title of this video. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you get notified when new videos come out. Also, follow me on Instagram where you can DM me, and follow me on TikTok where I make short videos about the same topics I talk about on YouTube. I also write about the same topics on Medium, where I write short essays and sometimes longer articles on these topics. So follow me on that, and I'll see you guys next time.